Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Sports Dialogue. I'm your podcast host, Paul Edwards. And on this episode, I'll share my thoughts on the championship game for the NCAA men's basketball title, which is played tonight, April 6, 2026. Stay tuned. Malachi Smith, Ellen Stewart, or Eric Reeby, they're all capable of double figures. So out of those four, I think that we need all four to score, but at least two of those four need to be in double figures, along with the five starters. I'm suggesting that for UConn to win this game, they need 6 to 7 players. One of the things they need to do is get 6 to 7 players in double figures, and they're very capable of it. I wouldn't say that if I didn't think they were capable of it. They are very capable of it. They just get into what I see, and I've seen it frequently, but they overcome it. They get into these scoring lulls for whatever the reason. I can't explain it, and I'm sure they can't either. But they're able to overcome it. But with the UConn team, because of their ability across the board to shoot threes, I think they need to get up at least 34 threes, as they did against Illinois. But, however, they have to shoot 36%. I don't think it's going to make it against Michigan. You'll see. And certainly not 22% or 33%. I think they need to be at least 45, maybe even 50%, but definitely 45%. Because if you're 50%, you get up 34 threes and you're 50%. You've made 17 threes. And if you do the math, that's a whole bunch of points. And you're going to need a bunch of points if Michigan plays like they normally play, because they can run the score up, and we'll take a look at it in a little while. So if they can take 34 threes and make 17, I think that's kind of where they need to be. And then when you get to the mid-range and read down low, and when you put it all together with field goal percentage, I think they need to be about the same, 45 to 50% field goal percentage. And it can be done. I think that Malachi Smith, when he comes in, he has a real good relationship with Reiber, where Malachi drives and then throws a lob to Reiber. I think if you get Reiber involved in the game when he gets in with a nice alley-oop dunk, get him motivated, I think that he can play a big role in offsetting some of the dominance that Mara displays. And that I mean that, he can bother Mara, and not that Reed can't, but I'm concerned about foul trouble for Reed on Mara. If Reed plays their 4, they're about the same size. Reed might be a little bit bigger. He won't be at risk of the foul trouble. So Mara is a gentleman that we have to game plan for. It's tough to double team him because of their perimeter shooters, but you can't just let him get dunks. If he's going off, you got to double team him. Just be careful who you double team off. And I know you may give up a 3, but a dunk is 100%. And they shoot threes at best 43, 45%. Hello, everyone. As promised, I'm here to preview the championship game tonight, the NCAA March Madness finale between the UConn Huskies and the Michigan Wolverines. Let's take a look back at what UConn has done over the recent games that they've played in the tournament. If you look at some points that I'd like to point out, some things that I look at to determine, who I will pick to win the game and what each team has to do to win. First off, if I look at UConn Huskies versus Illinois, this previous game that was just played, where UConn won 71-62 by 9 points, UConn had 1, 2, 3 players in double figures. And Caravan almost was at double figures. He was at 9 points. So you have 3 players in double figures, almost 4. Against Duke, UConn had 1, 2, 3, 4 players in double figures. And Malachi Smith with 9 points, so that would have been 5. So they had 4 players and almost 5 players in double figures against Duke. And going back one more game against Michigan State, UConn had 1, 2, 3 players in double figures, and Mullins had 8. He was 2 points away from double figures. So uh, I think for them to beat Michigan, which is a very good team, them meaning the UConn Huskies, I think that the UConn Huskies need to have all 5 starters in double figures and at least 2 of the players that come off the bench, whether it's Jaden Ross, Malachi Smith, Alan Stewart, or Eric Reeby. They're all capable of double figures. So out of those 4, I think that we need all 4 to score, but at least 2 of those 4 need to be in double figures, along with the 5 starters. I'm suggesting that for UConn to win this game, they need 6 to 7 players. One of the things they need to do is get 6 to 7 players in double figures, and they're very capable of it. I wouldn't say that if I didn't think they were capable of it. They are very capable of it. They're they just get into what I see, and I've seen it frequently, but they overcome it. They get into these scoring lulls for whatever the reason. I can't explain it, and I'm sure they can't either. But they're able to overcome it. In the Illinois game, if I'm not mistaken, they went 5 minutes in the first half without scoring and 5 minutes in the second half without scoring. So that's 10 minutes of a 40-minute game, because if I'm not mistaken, they're 2 20-minute halves. That's 40 minutes. And so if it were 4 quarters, they would have gone a whole quarter without scoring. And against a Michigan team, they can't afford to do that. Against Illinois, they shot a little under 36%, 35.5% field goal percentage. And they shot a little over 36% from the 3-point line. So let's look at the field goal percentage first, and I'll look at the 3-point attempts and 3-point makes. If we quickly go back to what UConn did in terms of scoring percentage against Duke, 44% field goal percentage and 22% from the 3-point line. If we go further back and look against Michigan State, they were 46% field goal percentage and 43% from the 3-point line. So they shot better, 43% against Michigan State from the 3-point line. And remember, I said that. They were fairly consistent with their field goal percentage, 44 against Duke and 46 against Michigan State. And if we go even one step further back against UCLA, they were 47% from field goal percentage and 33% from 3 points. In all those games, they were around 46, 47% from field goal percentage. And they're up and down from 3-point percentage. As I said, against Duke, 22% from 3-point line. Against Michigan State, 43%, which is much better. But against UCLA, they were 33%. So they're up and down from the 3-point line. Against the Illini, they shot 36% from the 3-point line, which is better than 33% and better than 22%, but not as good as 43%. And the second key to winning, not only getting 5 starters in double figures and 2 of the 4 main substitutes in double figures, 6 to 7 guys in double figures, which I believe they can do, I believe that they have to get up the type of 3-point attempts that they did against the Illini. They got up 34 3-point shots. And I think that if you look back against Duke, they only got up 23. 3-point shots. If you look back against Michigan State, they only got up 21. And then against UCLA, they only got up 24. But against the Illini, which I'm in line with, and I'm a mid-range guy. I believe in mid-range and take a good quality three. But UConn, can shoot the mid-range, and they have good quality 3-point shooters. So it's rare for me to say you got to get up more threes. I'm usually mid-range. I don't even like the guards taking it all the way to the hole. Once you beat the defender and you get to the elbow or around the foul line, just shoot the floater. Why take it into the 7-footer? I mean, just shoot. So that's the kind of guy I am, a mid-range floater guy, good quality threes. But with the UConn team, because of their ability across the board to shoot threes, I think they need to get up at least 34 threes as they did against Illinois. But however, they have to shoot 36%. I don't think it's going to make it against Michigan. You'll see. And certainly not 22% or 33%. I think they need to be at least 45, maybe even 50%, but definitely 45%. Because if you're 50%, you get up 34 threes and you're 50%, you've made 17 threes. And if you do the math, that's a whole bunch of points. And you're going to need a bunch of points if Michigan plays like they normally play, because they can run the score up, and we'll take a look at it in a little while. So if they can take 34 threes and make 17, I think that's kind of where they need to be. And then when you get to the mid-range and read down low, when you put it all together with field goal percentage, I think they need to be about the same, 45 to 50% field goal percentage. And it can be done. I remember years ago when Georgetown, with Patrick Ewing and company, played Villanova with Ed Pinckney and company. Villanova shot 60% from the field. That's 60%. So anything can happen in the championship game, but I think that UConn has the ability to shoot that within their game. And they have to shoot more threes, at least 34 like they did against Illinois, and make 45 to 50% of that. If they can do that and get 5, 6, 7 players in double figures, and I know they're going to play defense, I know that they're going to hustle, and I know that they're not going to panic. But the key is for them to get to victory is what I just laid out. If you look at the free throw percentage, which is another key, huge. They shot 88% against Illinois. Now that's where they need to be. Can't leave points on the table. Can't go lower than 88%. 90 is even better. Rebounds. They had 33 rebounds. They hit the hole hard, but Illinois had 42 rebounds, and Illinois is a rebounding team. So they just have to continue to focus on rebounding against Michigan, because Michigan is a rebounding team, and they have Mara in the middle, and which we'll get to Michigan in a minute. UConn did good on the turnovers versus Illinois. They only had 4 turnovers, and they had 6 steals. So if they can play their normal defense, at the risk of repeating myself, shoot from a percentage from the field goal percentage of 45 to 50%. And I think they need to be at least at the 43% 3-point range, as they did against, it looks like they shot 43% against Michigan State. But they only got up 21. So they need to get up 34 and at least shoot 45 to 50%. And they're very, very capable of it. Or as I wouldn't even mention that. So those are my keys that I think to UConn being victorious. Now let's take a look at Michigan. Let's look back at the Michigan versus Arizona game. Let's take a look at players in double figures for Michigan. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 players in double figures. 5. And Gale had 9 points. He was 1 point away from double figures. against Tennessee, and Mara had 26 points, and we'll get to him in a minute. He's a dominating force. Against Tennessee, Michigan had one, two, three, four, five players in double figures, and two other players had eight, a couple of points away from double figures. And in that game, Lundenberg had 27. We'll get with him in a minute. I hope that he's healthy. Uh, I'll talk about him shortly. I just hope he's healthy so both teams can be at full strength. But I also caution, you know, playing him if he's not healthy, if there's any doubt. He does have a life ahead of him and an NBA career ahead of him. So I caution the powers to be there to be very careful, the doctors, trainers, coaches, be careful, put the young man's health first. Uh, I'd like to see him on the floor, but not at the risk of him further injuring himself. But he's an NBA, and probably him and Mara are their most impactful players. But back to Michigan against Alabama, Michigan had one, two, three, four guys in double figures, and Mara had 8 points, 2 points away. So you get the idea that Michigan, they can put up 5 to 7 guys with double figures, and that's why one of the reasons why I indicated that UConn needs to get their 5 starters in double figures, which they can do. And they have to get 2 of the 4 main guys coming off the bench in double figures, which they can do. I think that UConn can defend. Jalen Stewart, Ross, they're going to be key in defending because Michigan, when they get, Michigan has those guards that can score. But, you can get some length on them with Jalen Stewart and Ross and make it a little tougher for them. I think Carabin is going to have a tough go against their 4. He reminds me of Zuby Ejiofor, somewhat. I can't say as good or not as good, but he's active. He can jump. He can score. So Caravan's going to have a tough time there. Caravan's a good defender, but with Reed on Mora, that's tough because Mora is a 7-footer. So we'll get to Mora in 1 second. But as you can see, I wanted to make my first point that Michigan gets a lot of people scoring double figures. And if you look at what they did against field goal percentage against Arizona, 47.8%. So they shot it over 45%, and that's where UConn needs to be. If you look at 3-point percentage, they shot 44.4% as Michigan did. But they only made 12. They made 12 3-pointers. So, and how many did they take? 12 of 27. Michigan took 12 of 27, which was 44%. So they didn't take as many 3-pointers as UConn, but they made 12. Okay, and I think I said UConn took 34 and UConn made 12. So UConn took more shots to make 12. Michigan took less threes and made 12. So UConn has to shoot 45 to 50% from threes, which they're capable of doing. It seems as if Michigan did a good job on the foul line, 81%, didn't leave too many points on the table. They rebounded 38 rebounds, which is around what UConn rebounds, but they turned the ball over Michigan 13 times. So they have to cut down on the turnovers. So Michigan seems as if they're going to have multiple players in double figures, 5 plus, if their previous games are any indication of what's going to happen tonight. Now, anything can happen. So that's why I say that UConn needs to, if they're going to win, they need to score at the rate that I just mentioned. Now, in terms of Mara, he's very tough. I think that if you look at it from the UConn side of things, um, it's going to be interesting to see if the length bothers Reed or not. And one and two, if Reed can get Mara into foul trouble, or can Mara affect Reed's effectiveness down low? Uh, in addition, can Reed pump fake and get Mara into foul trouble? That would be key because if they have to take Mara out of the game, now they have to move the 4 to 5, and now Caravan isn't saddled with playing that gentleman. Uh, in addition, I do think though this might be tough for the coaching staff to do. I would probably try to get Reiber in there with Reed, and but I know they don't like to play two bigs at the same time, and I'm not sure if they can because the rotation that they use while they're on the floor when they're running their stuff, that means Reed would have to move from 5 to 4, and then he'd have to set picks as a 4 instead of a 5. So I'm not so sure if it'll work, but if they could figure that out or they practice that, I think to get Reiber on Mara for a while, because Reiber's a 7-footer himself. He's 7'1". He might be able to bother Mara a bit, and he might be able to throw Mara off his game. He can spend Reiber could spend a few fouls, where it's more difficult to get Reed in foul trouble. If Reed gets in foul trouble, that's not going to be good for us. Whether Reiber plays along with Reed or not, which, based upon what I've seen, they're probably not going to do it. I would try it, but they're probably not going to do it. I think that Malachi Smith, when he comes in, he has a real good relationship with Reiber, where Malachi drives and then throws the lob to Reiber. I think if you get Reiber involved in the game when he gets in with a nice alley-oop dunk, get him motivated, I think that he can play a big role in offsetting some of the dominance that Mara displays. And that I mean that, it's he can bother Mara, and not that Reed can't, but I'm concerned about foul trouble for Reed on Mara. If Reed plays their 4, they're about the same size. Reed might be a little bit bigger. He won't be at risk of the foul trouble. So Mara is a gentleman that we have to game plan for. It's tough to double team him because of their perimeter shooters, but you know, you can't just let him get dunks. If he's going off, you got to double team him. Just be careful who you double team off. And I know you may give up a 3, but a dunk is 100%. And they shoot threes at best 43, 45%. So those are my feelings on the game. I think both teams are well coached. I don't think the atmosphere is going to affect them. I think they're going to play their game. I don't think if Lundenberg cannot go, certainly Michigan is not as strong. I know that young man wants to play. I pray that he does play, but not at the risk of injuring himself further. There is tomorrow, but I haven't seen any updates. Been busy myself. I haven't seen any injury updates on him. But if he's not, I was concerned because in the post-game interview, he was asked, how does he feel? I'm not sure the exact question, but his answer was, I really don't know. I've never felt this pain before. So this is something new to him. I'm sure he sprained his ankle before, but and I'm assuming he's referring to the knee and or the ankle. But either one, it's something that he has never felt before. So if you've never felt it before, you're not really sure what the heck is going on. Now I know the doctors can take a look and they have their medical ability to see if he can, cause further damage by playing on it. But if there's any possibility, I don't know if players play with a sore ankle all the time. But there's that's not going to probably not will lead to an Achilles tear or anything like that. But if there's anything close to him further injuring himself, I would say in the best interest for the player and his family to sit him out. But I do pray that he's capable of playing. Pray that all the players are capable of playing, and may the best team win. So, with that said, I'm predicting that the UConn Huskies will defeat a very, very, very good and talented Michigan Wolverines team. God bless you. Hope all is well.